Florida State's running game, is it fixed? Did Virginia Tech solve all their problems? We're breaking out the big guns on Warchant TV and welcoming back my friend, Warchant's lead football analyst, Dominic Robinson. He's back for another year, and we're going to be breaking down the big questions for Florida State as they're marching from 5-0 towards wherever this season is going. D-Rob, how's it going? Welcome back to the program and the channel, my man.
What's up, guys, man? I'm excited to be back. Having a hell of a time watching this team play, and just excited to be back with you guys and break down some stuff. Let's get to the nitty-gritty on it.
And we're going to get to all 22, folks. This is not the TV copy. So if you like breakdowns, this is you're going to weep. I mean, look at this. I'm pulling up the first clip right now. Look at that screen. Isn't that a beautiful sight? All 22. D-Rob has the access and he has the know-how. And so today, again, we're going to talk about Florida State's running game. As you can see, the paw on the field wasn't a great day against Clemson statistically, 22 yards for Florida State. Dominic, let's get down to this first play, and let's talk about your thoughts on FSU's running game as we're introducing play number one.
So the first thing I do want to point out is just Clemson decided, as they approached this week, was they're going to load the box. They're going to always have +1 in the box. So a lot of times when we were going to run the ball, we lined up in 21 personnel. That's 2 backs back here with 1 tight end. And Clemson said, no matter what, if you have got 5 guys on the line plus a down lineman, that's 6. You've got 7, 8. So we're going to have 8. And then they've got their +1 would be this guy adding to the box late. Okay, so they're always going to have numbers, or they decided they were going to have numbers the whole game, which is going to make it tough on any team. Doesn't matter who you got up front. You have all pros. If they're going to line up this way, you got to be able to throw the ball and get them out of it. Okay, so this was, I believe, one of the early runs. This is counter, our favorite run play. And, we'll see on the tight copy here. So, we've got 6 again, just because we bring a guy back here to the backfield, but this is not a guy that you necessarily want blocking. So you've got 6 blockers for 7. Here's 3 down linemen, 2 stand-up ends. So that's 5, 6, 7. They've got 8, and we've essentially got 6 to block 8 here. Right. So we don't have great numbers to begin with. Okay, we begin. We're changing here. We're going to change. I believe right here he's changing the snap count with these guys walked up just to make sure we can get an advantage. And here at the point of attack, you look like you've got a pretty good play. But again, we've got a guy that we can't block because of the numbers. And we've got another guy that we can block, but we're asking a player who runs the ball for a living to block a guy who tackles for a living. Okay, so it's not a good not a good business proposition. and there it is. It's a tackle for just a 2-yard gain.
Now on this next play, again, this is Florida State's bread and butter counter. A little bit later on, different drive, but D-Rob set the stage here, and what do you see?
Okay, so again, it felt like this was what Florida State wanted to do in terms of running their favorite run play, was to get into 21 personnel. This is a nub tight end, meaning there's no wide receivers outside of him. 2 wide receivers to the opposite side with 2 backs. So it's 21 personnel, 2 backs, 1 tight end. And again, Clemson, instead of apexing this guy and making him a half guy, they said, nope, we're going to keep our 6-man box intact with a 7th guy that could add here into the nub side, and even an 8th guy. So they have numbers. It's one-on-ones out here out wide. And, as I let the play, roll, we're running counter here away from the tight end. And there's nowhere to go. Again, a lot of it has to do with the fact that their numbers dictate that you probably got to throw the ball here. 71 as he pulls, he's going to be met by a defender that's supposed to spill him, meaning that he's supposed to defend that block inside.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so 71 gets stuck.
Mm-hmm.
His job is to try to work to the outside edge of that guy, number 7, I believe it is.
Okay.
Right. So that guy meets him, and there's really no block there. There's contact, and then he separates. And then also there is the defender. I'm getting a little bit of lag here. The defender 54 right here spills it and makes that thing just continue to go wide. And then, they've just got, you see the red or orange jerseys that are running to the ball. Clemson just did a really good job. Again, they've got plus numbers. And then if you got numbers plus your guys play hard, it makes it a tough proposition for the offense. So you see 54 right here. At this point, he can choose to attack number 3 on his outside shoulder, and he does what's called a spill technique, which he goes inside. Mm-hmm. And at this point, this guy doesn't block him. He also doesn't make the tackle, but the ball is doing exactly what they want to do.
Right.
And this defender, same thing. The ball's doing exactly what they want it to do. It's moving left and right. Okay. Us as an offense, what we would like is for 3 to be able to hit this guy head on, and this ball carrier to be able to stick his left foot in the ground and get vertical.
Okay. So Coach D-Rob in the film room would say, Coach D-Rob in the film room would say, yeah, there's an issue on the offensive line with 71, but that might be on the lead blocker, number 3 in that situation.
Correct. Yeah. And again, that's something that we're asking him to do. That's a tough job for a guy that runs the ball for a living, right? Yep. I don't know that I want to make a living asking number 3 to be a lead blocker. Do you want to do it? Yes. Do you have a guy that can do it? Absolutely. But it's going to be tough, again, when they don't have the numbers. When you don't have numbers, you don't have angles. And that's what 3 got himself into a dilemma, because he was in the open field and didn't have the angle to block that guy who tackles for a living.
What's also interesting about that play is the ball's given to a tight end, number 6, Jaheim Bell, who played for South Carolina last year. He was a do-everything H-back type tight end, but Florida State had not broken that out until that point in the season. So it was kind of a gadget that just
yeah, for sure. And I think, again, I like getting him the ball. He's definitely a dynamic playmaker, and it's again a semi-gadget there. But when you don't have the numbers, you're putting him in a disadvantaged position to make a big play for you there.
You don't necessarily want your best playmakers, D-Rob, having to lead block for somebody else, but you can have them get out in space and try to make plays. It's not just in the running game, but then also in the passing game. How did Florida State maybe loosen up what Clemson was doing around the line of scrimmage?
Absolutely. So this is the beauty of football, right? It's a game of adjustments. And so, like I said, we keep seeing, throughout the first quarter, those first 2 clips that we talked about were a loaded box, So here's an example. This is the start of the second quarter. You've got an 8-man box here once you motioned 84 in. Okay, so, it's really 7.5 with this guy who's going to push to the middle of the field. And so if you see, we've got one-on-one up here, one-on-one here, and a one-on-one here. And then the other guy who has a one-on-one is number 3, one of your most dynamic playmakers. So you snap the ball right now. Okay, so with this motion right now, Jordan Travis already probably knows where he's going with the ball. And he's right. I want to get the ball. I want 3 in space right here. So they run a rail to number 3. This is why, Jordan Travis is getting the accolades that he gets. This is a phenomenal ball, and this is Trey Benson making a heck of a catch. These are catches that wideouts make, and typically not your tailbacks.
This was a huge moment in the game, D-Rob, because, again, the second quarter is where Florida State's offense really did all of its scoring in regulation, and they were back against the wall. You've documented a couple of drives that just get short-circuited. this is a winning play in the game. Jordan makes a couple more on this drive. There's a quarterback run or two that move the chains or score. But this throw and this catch felt like everybody could exhale afterwards because nothing was going right to this point.
Absolutely. And this is a big point too, because on first down there, they had a run for 0 yards. Clemson brings pressure, and this is how you beat pressure. That you have to do it. And so, this was a huge point in the game where you at least make them consider maybe we got to back off a little bit. Maybe we got to be a little bit lighter. Okay, if they're going to punish us for bringing pressure and loading up the box, then this is how we're going to do it.
Makes sense. Later on in the same drive, we all know that Florida State ends this drive with a touchdown, 1 of 2 in regulation against Clemson. Florida State is known for running counter, Dominic, but maybe they got a little something extra beyond counter in this situation. What are we looking at?
So this was one of my favorite plays. They line up in a double stack, which they had lined up a couple times already on this drive. They motion in 6, Jaheim Bell here, and they run what I'm calling super counter. So they're not just pulling the guard and the tackle, they're also bringing the Y. Ends up being a 12-yard gain. This was probably the best run of the game. Again, I think we had 20-something yards rushing, and this 12 were on this play. So you can see it's blocked up really well. The other thing that you can notice is this was one of very few times that Clemson lined up in a light box. Mm-hmm. So at the time that the ball snapped, they essentially have 5.5 guys. This guy came in with the motion. He was playing cover 1 or playing man on Jaheim Bell, but this isn't really a tackler. So this is why I call it a 5.5 man box. This is a coverage guy that really wants to be outside the box. So here's your super counter, and Trey makes a guy miss. You'll see on the tight copy, there's okay blocking, but it really, when you have numbers like this, you don't even necessarily need blocking. I talked earlier about the defensive player that needs to spill this or make it go wide. Well, that guy is right there, number 0. And he tries, but the ball still spits up inside of this number 33, who absolutely blows up the puller right here. Okay, so this is why I say the blocking's not great, as that's not ideal. No. I don't know many offensive line coaches that would be happy to see their offensive lineman on his back.
Does that get some laughs in the film room?
Absolutely. There's a lot of guys in the film room going, "Bro, what happened?" And 33, technically he does his job. He would get he would probably get in trouble because he does get a little bit too far upfield. But anytime you knock a guy back like that, that's a heck of a job by him. But the main thing that happens here is, 54 gets stuck down inside. He's got to work over the top. And again, it's a decently blocked play. There's also great perimeter blocking going on. These guys out wide are doing a really good job. But their super counter made its debut, or if we've seen it before, I've missed it. But really good play, and really the run play of the day.
So what we'll do next is we'll take a look at super counter against maybe a more stout and more crowded area for Clemson. Now we're into the second half. Florida State's tied the game 17-all. And then what was curious from the outside looking in, D-Rob, was Rodney Hill's in the backfield, 29 for Florida State. They call back-to-back runs and are in a 3rd and long. But maybe those run calls aren't what they seem to be. So what do you see here?
Yeah, so, earlier we saw the introduction of super counter. We go back to this similar formation. They're stacked here. They didn't stack this time to the field. Motion in Jaheim Bell, and now we're going to get super counter here towards the field. But this time, that spill player, 54, is outside and able to keep that ball inside, and then they run it down from the backside. Now, when you don't have numbers, like we didn't have most of the game, aside from just throwing it out here to your one-on-ones, which you still have here, is quarterback run game. And so that's going to keep this guy, number 12, I believe it is, or number 3, actually. Oh, it is 12. All right, I'll go to the tight. So this is the guy that we have to account for with the quarterback run game.
Mm-hmm.
We're not going to block him. We're running super counter over here.
Yep.
And right now we're going to say, I'm going to put my quarterback up against this guy and hope he can fall forward for 4 yards. Right. And we should like that very much.
Yeah. 12's not making that play. Jordan's already gone, but
no, 12 is definitely not making this play. He couldn't tackle the counter and tackle the quarterback. He's got to choose one or the other. There's few guys in the world that can do that. Georgia has a couple of them, and those guys go early, very early in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so that's sort of the other answer here that I think we would have to explore is quarterback run game. Also, if you pull it here, and I'll go back to the wide, if he pulls this ball and you have your one-on-one here, this is this is well protected because they're expecting us to run counter. Mm-hmm. It's a very good run action fake. And, he can pull up here and you can throw your one-on-one route here, which we actually do later in the game. And Jordan just misses Johnny out of bounds. They show this same look and miss it. But
okay, so it looks like to me, D-Rob, that is on. That's active. The way that the receivers are releasing, they're not, like, for example, is that Johnny at the top of the screen?
That is, yeah.
Okay, so he's not blocking the whole way. He's releasing as though the pass is still a part of that play, that Jordan could actually keep the ball and throw it there. Is that correct?
Yeah, I would say it's probably not on, but he's probably been coached that, hey, we need to see if it's on, so I need you to go. And Johnny's brilliant at this. He's been doing this since he got to Florida State, and he probably did it before. He works really hard in the run game, so everything looks like a run. And then he does a really good job of faking stalk blocking. I'm gonna block you and then release. And so he's probably testing it to see, how does this corner react?
Okay.
How does he react if I stalk him and go? Because I'm going to block him either way. He's got to guard me. So if I release, he's got to come get me. If he doesn't come get me, then later I can tell coach, hey, the stalk and go is there. Let's run this. Let's go fake super counter, throw it up to me, and see if we can get a big play there. So,
okay. Last question I have here is Jordan's hurt in this game. He got hurt in Boston College. He had actually a shoulder brace on during the game that he took off because it was uncomfortable for him. It's not his throwing arm, but it still bothered him nonetheless. Do you think in a situation like this, and I'm asking you to speculate because the film can't tell you, do you think that he is being told always give in this situation, or does he have the option to go ahead and run in a moment like this?
I don't believe he's being told not to pull it.
Okay.
I believe he has the option to pull it, but I also think he's probably told, or I know, one, he's human. He remembers the last time they ran this play, and it was their best running play. So he's probably leaning towards, I'm going to give it unless it's absolutely clear. Mm-hmm. And they probably have a call that tells him when he's going to keep it. Like, he absolutely is going to keep it no matter what. Mm-hmm. And that one's probably dead this week because he's hurt. Okay. So he could pull it if he wants, but he's leaning towards the give. He's only going to pull it if it's 4th and 2 and we got to have it type situation. And or that number 12 just absolutely is not there. Maybe 25's not there. Maybe 25 goes and flies over the top. And now I'm going to pull it because I know it's a 30-yard gain.
Yep.
That's my guess, is that he's kind of told, hey, we're going to lean towards giving this ball unless for sure you're going to run for a first down.
Makes sense. All right, let's move on to the Virginia Tech game and see if Florida State's ills are all gone or if there's more to it. We all know that Florida State ran for well over 200 yards against Virginia Tech. Trey Benson himself ran for 200 yards against Virginia Tech. Does that mean that Florida State has solved its problems against Virginia Tech? D-Rob now has the tape from that particular game. Dominic, what do you see?
So they looked better, but I would not use this game against this opponent to gauge whether your team is back to running the ball the way that you would like. There's a lot of poor effort. There's a lack of talent and ability by the opponent, and there's some things that are concerning from your side in terms of holding on to blocks, maintaining blocks. And aside from the two, really, there was 4 big chunk runs, 2 obviously big touchdowns, but there were 2 other runs. Aside from those, there's a lot of meat left on the bones in terms of the running game. So this was the first time we ran counter in out of 11 personnel. You'll see again, you're still getting a very similar loaded box, 11 personnel. You've got a 7-man box, and you're getting cover 1 out wide. So each secondary player is responsible for a 1-man and then a 1 high safety. And they're also actually running a game up front or a blitz up front where this backer is responsible for the gap that we're trying to run the football. So it's not necessarily ideal, but if you watch 34, this is not the level that any Division I coach would want their player playing at. This is just a really lack of effort and ability. And you'll see, they're blitzing the A gap with this backer, which is not ideal against this play call. But they still have a decent enough, front that they should be able to stop this run. So this guy is going to work over the top, and he's that spill player that we talked about before. Okay, so he's got to go outside and keep this ball inside, or he's going to spill it to this guy who's going to work over the top. Well, they both end up inside, and then even after the block, 34 just kind of gives up.
So again, 34 is in front of the umpire at the beginning of the snap. So roll it back. There he is.
Correct.
In front of the umpire.
Yep. And so, the things that you want to watch here is, 71, that's called a log. This puller, this guy's going to pull and log, kick out that defensive end. Again, that's kind of just a poor job by 52. He kind of just lets him do it. There's very little fight there. And but he gets his job done. And then 84, seals the edge with 34, who's kind of given a very lackluster effort. So it's a good run. There's great perimeter blocking. It actually gets called a hold there on 4, and it shouldn't have. But that was the first time you ran counter, and I think right away, Coach Norvell saw we're going to be able to run the ball against these guys. And there were, I think, 3 different 3rd and longs where we ran duo, which is a zone run. We ran counter one time, and I can't remember the 3rd time, but I think we ran outside zone. So we ran the ball on 3rd and long multiple times on this drive. And that's really sending a message that, hey, you guys aren't going to stop us anyway. We're not even going to worry about putting the ball in the air.
So what you're saying is, for the layman who looks and scouts this game and they see that Rutgers averaged 7.5 yards per carry against Virginia Tech and Marshall nearly 5 yards per carry, there's a reason for that.
For sure. Yeah. Then that was apparent just by, even, like I said, by the play calls that, there was never a time where Coach Norvell didn't feel like he could run the ball.
Back again for later in the first quarter. This is a quarter that Florida State scored 22 points. The first 22 points of the game, one of their fastest starts of the season. But again, I think what Dominic is getting at on this play, like he did before, is that it might be about the opponent more than Florida State coming out of the bye week with everything solved. But Dominic, break it down for us. What do you see?
Yeah, so this ends up being a decent run. Sorry, this is the inside zone prior. On first down, they run inside zone for +2, which is not quite what you would love. And then on second down, they go outside zone for +4. But this is more of an individual effort. You can just see. We'll go to the tight copy. You just see a lot of leakage, a lot of penetration. There's not a lot of guys. You see number 3 is already through there. This guy should make a tackle. He doesn't. There's 34 showing up again. And Trey Benson just does a really good job of fighting for extra yardage. But you just don't see, guys getting movement on their blocks like you would hope. Guys holding their blocks like you would hope. And this is more just about a one guy. You see, even backside here, 22, the tackle up here. He's through. There's not a lot of guys getting blocked. It's more just one guy, beating guys to the edge and then falling forward, which is what he does. And there's going to be a time for that, against a much harder opponent. But when you're playing a team like Virginia Tech, you would hope that those would be blocks and guys getting moved downfield, not just guys getting through and then our one guy that's special just falling forward and making guys miss.
Florida State broke out a different little wrinkle this past weekend against Virginia Tech. D-Rob, in the post-game show, I was not sure, and I just wanted you to be there for me. I said, I think this is pin and pull, but don't hold me to that. I'm not a coach. But it was a single puller on the play side, not the back side. But it was very successful for Florida State with both the left guard and the right guard in this game. Let's hear what it actually is. And I think you told me that it is actually pin and pull. So I was proud for that. I guess that's your influence.
Absolutely. And again, Virginia Tech's going to help you here. The concept is we're going to try and pin either this end or this tackle. And in this case, both, because this end is inside. So if he was outside, we can't pin him. We could crack with the wideout, but we can't pin this guy if he's outside. Well, they help us a lot here by going inside. So it makes it easy to pin him. And then now our tackle can pin. This is the 3 technique. He's outside the guard. So it's easy for our tackle to then block down and pin him. The guard will pull around, and he's going to pull around for this safety. The safety does us a favor by going inside. He makes it easy for the tackle. This is also a big dude getting in space and doing a heck of a job. But Virginia Tech helps us a lot here with sort of the way that they played this and sort of just their lack of execution. Safety gets, again, perimeter blocking. Okay, our number 4 and number 14, they work harder than any other wideouts in the country in terms of blocking. They really get after it. Him getting after his corner makes the safety get blocked, makes it easy for that guard. And the guard ends up getting a nice little pancake block right there on the safety, putting him on his face. And, and then, 3's explosiveness gets the edge. But again, this is a lot of Virginia Tech helping you, and then you're executing, and you always celebrate your victory. So this is obviously going 85 yards against anybody is a hard thing to do. You just don't see it all the time. It's not often. So you definitely want to celebrate it, but you also understand that schematically they helped you. And then, even that backer to the play side, I think it's 38, just kind of runs through and takes a bad angle. And, but this burst of speed is something that, the NFL scouts are going to love to see, as this corner really has an angle. I don't know if that's a corner or a safety, and the angle's gone. So, we'll show the pin and pull from the tight. The tight copies is a good view of it. Again, we're going to block the concept is to block down on this guy, pin him, and then pull this guard around for the remaining guy. Normally, this end would be outside, and he would have to kick out the end and that play would run up inside of him. But because he's inside, we end up pinning them both, which doesn't happen. It's not very common. Normally, this guy, this tight end, would have to block this guy, and we would leave that end unblocked, and he would get blocked out by the puller. You don't get puller on the safety very often. So when you do, it's pretty awesome.
So is this something, if you're an offensive player and you're in formation and you see the way that they're lined up across the ball?
Oh, absolutely. The sideline was buzzing. The huddle was buzzing. The quarterback is buzzing. Everybody's knowing right now we're knowing we got a dang good play.
Yeah, nobody jump.
This is good. Nobody jump. Everybody's, and don't hold. You got 4 on the edge there working his tail off. You're worried. Please don't call that hold. Because you've got a good play. You're not expecting it to go 85, but you've got a really good play. You're getting a big chunk on that.
Okay, so I guess we'll wrap it up with this, D-Rob. And next week, I look forward to it because we're going to be talking about Jordan next. We're going to go from the running game to the passing game, specifically the quarterback. You and I have talked behind the scenes about that. I'm excited to break that down next week on Warchant TV. But to answer the question about Florida State's running game, Clemson's a great defense, and they had numbers. So was it that? Was it that Florida State was successful against Virginia Tech because they're awful? And then anything in between. So how would you assess your concern level of Florida State's ground game from what you've seen so far this season?
I wouldn't say I'm concerned. I would say I am I'm patiently waiting to see it go into fruition against an opponent that's our caliber. Mm-hmm. So it's time will tell. There's going to have to be some other things that come about. Like I said, the quarterback run game, and then there's going to have to be some taking shots against one-on-one coverage, because if teams are going to load the box like Clemson is, it doesn't matter how good your guys block up front. It's just not going to be it's just going to be a long day in terms of the run game. So there's a lot left out there to explore and to assess, and the next couple of weeks we'll certainly get an opportunity to find out kind of what we have with that run game, because we're going to have to block better, but more than anything, we're going to have to run against better boxes.
Makes sense. All right. That's the breakdown for this week. We welcome him back. It's been a pleasure, Dominic. I missed you. Thank you very much for the insights, and look forward to talking next week about Jordan Travis. That should be interesting too.
Thanks, man. It was fun. It's always fun talking ball with you, and happy to be back.
Thanks to Director Ben behind the scenes for making this work. This is Warchant TV's X's and O's breakdown with Dominic Robinson. My name is Tom Lang. We'll talk to you on Warchant TV next time.